Kanċillier, il-Professur David Attard, Proretturi, il-Professur Joseph Cacciattolo u l-Professur Frank Bezzina, Sinjuri. Merħba għal din iċ-ċerimonja ta' gradwazzjoni, it-tmin waħda minn sensiela ta' 25 ċerimonja ta' gradwazzjoni fil-livell ta' postgraduate. Huwa ta' sodisfazzjon għall-Università ta' Malta li nħabbru li ser jiggradwaw aktar minn 2600 student f'din is-sessjoni ta' gradwazzjonijiet għas-snin 2020, 2021 u 2022. Fosthom hemm 113 il-dottorat li minnhom 88 huma dottorati ta' riċerka foqsma varji. Nibdew din iċ-ċerimonja billi nistieden il-Professur Colin Calleja, id-Dekan tal-Fakultà tal-Edukazzjoni, sabiex jindirizzana. Il-Professur Colin Calleja.
Schools and the schooling experience have changed very little from how they looked at the beginning of last century. Students go to school in the morning, sit in the classroom in front of a teacher, sporadically use the technology available, and then head back home with a list of homework to complete for the next day or next lesson in the timetable. Uniforms, fed pedagogies, class size, Selection practices and the technology might have changed, but what students and teachers actually do has changed very little over time. Then came COVID-19. Schools, teachers, students, and their parents faced unprecedented changes, forcing schools to think differently about educational delivery. During lockdown, teachers had to think of different ways of delivering their lessons. And although they were completely unprepared to move to remote learning, they had to. While the lockdown for Maltese schools was relatively short compared with other countries, quarantined classes were a daily occurrence. In the past months, the Ministry of Education and Sports has spent over 30 million euros as a response to COVID-19 in supplies, alterations, printing of materials, filming of lessons, free internet for families who had school-aged children, fumigation, assistance to church and private schools and independent schools, among others. Notwithstanding this, the status of the classroom as we know it was being challenged. Schools and teachers had to adapt quickly to the situations that arose daily. During this period, teachers and schools have also been reporting a growing number of the so-called vanishing students, students that never or rarely, when they were meant to be online, showed up. When school opened again, a good number of these children did not return. These are usually those children from a migrant background and from the most vulnerable families. The lack of digital devices and connectivity and the home situations have therefore intensified inequalities. While the situation of schools was changing in unprecedented ways and at an unprecedented rate due to the pandemic, many teachers were facing these challenges, often feeling unprepared, both pedagogically and emotionally. Nevertheless, in general, teachers rose to the challenge and adapted their practice to mitigate the damage that this pandemic had the potential to bring about. Seasoned teachers who normally resisted technology explored different digital means to deliver their lessons and to organize learning activities. Recently or newly qualified teachers whose initial teacher education might not have prepared them sufficiently for such an eventuality turned on their digital skills to use new tools to reach their students. Nonetheless, these changes took their toll on their mental health and well-being of teachers, which at times affected the quality of their service. Home issues and lack of boundaries between home and work duties weighed heavily on quality of support that they could give to their students. Nevertheless, educators continued adopting curricula, implementing new systems, and adapting to new reforms. During the past years, we have seen a number of reforms and policy changes that seem to reinvent school or even take them back in time. Policies that fail to build and grow on previous learned experiences. In the past decade or so, we have experienced frantic reforms that brought about adaptations of standards designed intricate accountability systems and assessment practices, overhauled teacher practices, halted the march to inclusion, and returned to selective practices and special schooling. This reform, which might have had good ingredients, has resulted in more selection and stratification of school children, with unintended results of yet again closing doors on the vulnerable and those from poor socioeconomic background. Such reforms have yielded little obvious benefits in terms of improvement in students' achievement, attracting talented teachers, or change in teacher practices. Year after year, we continue to fare poorly in our performance on international student assessment. Our early school leaving rate still far from the targeted 9% that European countries have set for themselves to reach by 2030. The COVID-19 pandemic did not help to improve the situation. In the next years, post-COVID, we will continue to experience the devastation left behind and to which we have to learn to adapt. It's time for schools and policymakers to set aside the familiar stopgap solutions and look more closely at how they can ensure the right to education for all and strengthen it as a common good that seeks to end inequality. This can be achieved if we attract more talent towards the profession. It is also imperative that while schools as social spaces are protected, free and open source technologies are made available for all educators and students to access knowledge. Staffing schools today is no easy task. State schools this year alone hired 177 new teachers, of which 199 are newly graduated with a pedagogical degree, and the remaining 178 were pedagogically unprepared persons, the so-called supply teachers. Unfortunately, the emphasis on small class sizes, segregation practices, such as those that take struggling students out of their home class into other classes for special teaching, and an education built on early subjects selection requires increasing number of the so-called teachers who could be plugged into classrooms. So, at a time when quality is in demand, when well-prepared qualified teachers are needed to meet the challenges mentioned above, the teachers' talent pool is being drained of qualified teachers, leaving the profession for promotions that take them away from the classrooms and for other more lucrative jobs, and diluted with a growing number of supply educators whose lack of pedagogical preparation often results in merely transmitting knowledge with insufficient attention to the specific needs of the students. While teachers' pay needs to be addressed to attract more talent and for the first time make the profession attractive even to young men and women who have a future to build, the quality expected from these educators should be high. We should aim for a profession that leverages talent, experience, and training. However, it is not enough to have talented teachers if the policy makers do not hold a vision that rises above the whims of an individual minister and the party in government. Often, these have resulted in reforms that has less to do with reimagining the profession and building a long-term strategy for the future of education, rather than with tackling immediate, short-term problems. Our education begs for a long-term strategy that is guarded by a policy agreed to across political parties that allows for flexibility to respond to the needs of the time, autonomy for professional educators to perform their educational duties and practices, and is enshrined in a set of universal educational principles. Our schools badly need the skills of accomplished, highly trained educators to mentor novice teachers without having to leave the classroom to become part of senior management. These lead teachers who would join a team of teacher trainers would enjoy new professional opportunities and commensurate pay. This will open the possibility for these seasoned teachers to use their teaching skills and give them recognition they deserve, and may help prevent them from departing for new opportunities. There is also the need to expand the pool of potential teachers. Exclusively recruiting new graduates is not enough. Today, the changing nature of work means there's an excellent chance for a new mid-career entrant to the profession. The skill, knowledge, and life experience that a 40-year-old engineer, journalist, or computer programmer might bring to the classroom can add value to the profession. But for this to be an attractive proposal worthy of consideration, one has to ensure that their certification process needs to be substantially different from the model we presently employ. We should also see that the financial penalties for career changers are weeded out. Technology, particularly digital technology that enables communication and collaboration, should not be seen as a panacea, but as a source of expanding the potential for innovation. When technology is designed to free up time for meaningful teacher-student interaction and offers students more personalized feedback, it can make a significant positive difference. As a country, we have invested millions of euros in technology. We have promised that each new technology introduced into the classroom would transform schooling, that it would revolutionize our educational system. We all know that no technology, neither old nor new, has this potential. No desktop computer, laptops, tablets, and even whiteboards have and will bring significant changes in classroom practice. There is no guarantee that placing new technology in the classroom means it will be used wisely or well. It is the teacher and student-to-teacher interaction that brings through true change. And yet, technology, when used well and supported by a strong pedagogical framework, can make a profound difference in schooling. As the pandemic has highlighted, it can promote transparency and communication, bring home and the classroom, foster personal connections, offer students new resources and activities, accelerate assessment to give students real-time feedback, and expose students to new opportunities. Technology makes it possible to make teaching and learning more inclusive. For example, technology permits us to improve on some of the fonts. Online materials can be rapidly updated and customized to a student's interests and reading level. They may feature embedded exercises that allow students to apply new concepts and receive immediate feedback. They can offer short videos and supplementary materials that address particular points of interest. They can also provide picture-heavy explanations for students who struggle with a word or concept. Today's technology gives students and teachers access to large amount of materials that makes it possible to create a more personal world of learning, with teachers potentially free to spend more time mentoring students and less time dishing out information. This will help make schooling more respectful of students and teachers' time. Technology also makes learning solutions more affordable. It also can help make learning solutions more available, giving teachers more tools and allowing them to deliver remote lessons, provide students with interactive assignments, or arrange for targeted supplementary instruction. It can make possible the learning of native languages for children with migrant backgrounds through virtual teachers. It gives teachers the possibility to work together to curate and provide varied kinds of instructions, including live teacher-led lessons, software-based lessons, collaborative activities, virtual tutors, and individual practice. This is where those with expert knowledge can help in the design of algorithms that make it possible for teachers and learners to accommodate instruction. Ultimately, the promise of any educational technology is its ability to better engage young minds or amplify the reach of talented educators. The value of any new technology is in its ability to make teachers teach well. I cannot end this oration without inviting you all present to remember the Ukrainian plight. Thousands of students are having their education once again interrupted and with huge consequences. I hope, as a university, we will be able to support these students, in particular those who will find refuge in our country. In conclusion, I would like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to share some thoughts on possible ways forward by which our schools could progress further on their path to success. Dear graduates, your graduation is the beginning of a journey that can take you to great heights. Your academic success will hopefully be also reflected in your professional success that is shared with the children that you teach. I leave you with the wise words of the Lebanese poet Gibran Khalil Gibran. The teacher who walks in the shadow of the temple among his followers gives not of his wisdom, but rather of his faith and his lovingness. If he is indeed wise, he does not bid you enter the house of his wisdom, but rather leads you to the threshold of your own mind. May you be the ones that allow space for your students to wander in search of knowledge. Thank you.
Nistidinkom issa sabiex tisimgħu l-indirizz tar-rappreżentanta tal-gradwati Sinjura Marisa Victoria Vella de Manuele li se tingħata l-grad ta' Master of Arts in Educational Leadership and Management. Sinjura Marisa Victoria Vella de Manuele.
Chancellor, Rector, Pro-Rector, members of Council and Senate, members of the academic body, distinguished guests, and graduates. It is my distinct honor to deliver this address to all of you, and especially to the staff of the Faculty of Education. I am immensely thankful that finally we have rented our toga and are here to celebrate this much-awaited graduation. I thank the Consil Studenti Universitari for lobbying to make these graduations happen, and the University of Malta for all the efforts put in planning such memorable occasions. Looking back to February 2018, I recall my enthusiasm at embarking on the Master in Educational Leadership and Management course, and my delight at meeting new people. At the time, the term online and hybrid lectures pertained only to occasional concessions given to our fellow Godzitans. Admittedly, attending lectures in person was tiring after a busy school day, and I am sure that following from home in our loungewear would have had its advantages. However, being on campus was an enriching experience since it enabled us to effectively network and, above all, to form genuine friendships, which were crucial for our well-being. Indeed, life at the University of Malta is not merely about academia. Personally, returning on campus 2 decades after graduating for the first time was so thrilling. I inhaled the cultural and interpersonal environment present on campus with great pleasure and pride. Thanks to student fora, spaces are created where students come together. The standard of student services are raised, and students may join a cause to become the hands of the community, there to support others in reaching their goal. An example of this is how KSU supported students throughout the different phases of the COVID-19 pandemic as they transitioned from physical to remote to hybrid learning. I am also truly grateful for having taken on the role of student representative. It allowed me to relate to and to better understand the academic experience of my peers, as well as to give relevant feedback to our course coordinators by highlighting the areas of good practice, as well as to discuss areas which could be improved for current as well as future cohorts. I hope I have represented and served you well. Throughout our 3-year journey, we have been exposed to educational leadership literature, compared leadership styles, and pondered upon how all educators, especially those in decision-making positions, can address the ever-increasing changes and challenges happening in our classrooms today, whilst also pushing for educational improvement. We have discussed the responsibility that rests on the shoulders of a school's senior leadership team to provide professional support to educators so that all the school community would better serve our students to develop, integrate, and achieve. However, I clearly remember wondering whether I had the X factor to be a leader. I recall my relief on learning that although some are born with a leadership charisma, leadership skills can also be developed and enhanced. At the time, I was a class teacher, and the knowledge that teachers lead all day was reassuring. Still, the question lingered: what does it take to be a good leader? Answers to this question are myriad, and probably the most important attribute of a leader will vary depending on the situation and the individual. We will probably all agree on what leadership is not. It is not accidental. Personal growth is only likely to happen by having an intentional focus on raising oneself and one's leadership capability. Leadership is also not only about technical proficiency. Whilst this is important, we cannot disregard the importance of working on character traits such as self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, and confidence. Leadership is not a title. Instead, it is an act of service and acquired daily through integrity. Leadership is not a one-person show. A true leader recognizes that achieving a vision involves the collective effort of many. And leadership is not only about a center figure. Regardless of their position in a school, all who care for those in their charge and who lead by example are practicing leadership. Therefore, in a school context, we are all called to be leaders in our own way, at all levels. All educators have the power and the responsibility to make a difference to the lives of those in the school community. And each of us must intentionally strive to serve our team and our students from the very heart. I would like to echo Thomas Sir Giovanni, who states that one should develop the head, the heart, and the hand of their leadership. The head requires us to be constant consumers of research and professional development. The heart calls for us to be authentic, deeply committed to establish meaningful relationships and to ethically care for the welfare of others. And finally, the hand of leadership refers to the consistency between what a leader says and what a leader does in practice. It is hard to sum up our experience, especially because it has been a personal journey for each and every one of us. The journey was not a stroll, and at times it did feel like we were trudging through, juggling work, study, and family commitments. I think you would all join me in thanking the Faculty of Education and all its dedicated academics who have indeed opened the door to our studies and held it ajar to support us along the way. Special thanks go to our course coordinators, Professor Christopher Bezzina and Dr. James Calleja, for their guidance and support, and for treating us as individual and valuable members of a network of professional educators. Credit also goes to family and friends who have stepped in to support when we were busier than usual or when the going got tough. Life and its challenges did not stop for anyone, and many of us have been through life-changing experiences in the past 3 years. However, the fire burning within us to accomplish what we set out to achieve was greater than the challenges, and the rewards reaped greater than the effort. The fact that we have pulled through despite challenges and the paradox of the pandemic only makes our accomplishment even greater. As Cassius in Shakespeare's Julius Caesar put it, "It is not in the stars to hold our destiny, but in ourselves." Congratulations to all.
Why do the nations rage so furiously together, so furiously together? And why do the people imagine everything? Imagine everything. And why do the people imagine everything? The kings of the earth rise up, and the rulers they counsel together. They counsel together against the Lord and against his against the Lord and his anointed.
Loti tal-grati ta' Master fil-Fakultà tal-Edukazzjoni. Master in Access to Education. Prekarissimi kandidati, plakui ta' autoritatibus universitati moderandi, prefectis dinios vos declarare kell laurea insignibus decorimini. Sponsor, Professor Colin Calleja.
Tuum in conspectum magnifice rector, adducimus os lectissimos candidatos, omnibus laurea insignibus, more institutoque maiorum a te honestandos qui. A consiliaris et senatoribus uius universitatis dignissimis presentati, temox rogabunt ut, tibi attributa potestate, eos magistros renuncies, atque in eius modi censu cooptatos adscriptosque nomines atque edicas.
Rebecca Kamenzuli li ġiet l-ewwel fil-kors tagħha.
Ut itaque Deus exoratus nobis attributa autoritate, te magistram iure censeri et esse co optimo sunt creati ali, edicimus et pronunciamus, tibique omnibus honoribus, cum laurea conjunctis, fruendi et utenti facultatem facimus. Cape iam collate tibi dignitatis ornamenta, et quid illa instituto maiorum portendat intellege. Gesta sic togam anc, ut norint omnes te, in magistrarum collegium allectam esse. Sit tibi liberalis pleus ic, velluti ornamentum laureum, quod donabantur post certamen victores. Quant opere vero, te de dignitate adepta, in totius academici cetus, nomine gratulemur, gestetur tibi ic nosteram plexus.
Graziella Galia. In absenzja Alina Magdalena Zammit. Master in Teaching and Learning. Prekarissimi kandidati. Placuit autoritatibus universitati moderandi. Prefectis dinios vos declarare quel laurea insinibus decoremini. Sponsor Professor Colin Calleja.
Tuum in conspectum magnifice rector, adducimus os lectissimos candidatus, omnibus laurea insignioribus, mores tutoque maiorum a te, honestandos qui, a conciliaris et senatoribus uius universitatis dignissimis presentati. Temox rogabunt ut tibi attributa protestate eios magistros renuncies, atque in aius modi censu cooptatos adscriptosque nomines atque edicas.
Emma Maria Hiki ġiet l-ewwel fil-kors tagħha.
Ut itaque Deus exoratus vertat bene nobis attributa autoritate te magistram eo iure censeri et esse cooptimus sunt creati alia dicimus et pronunciamus tibique omnibus honoribus cum laurea conjunctis fruendi et utenti facultatem facimus cape iam collate tibi dignitatis ornamenta et quidilla instituto maiorum portendat intellege gesta sic togam anc ut norint omnes te in magistrarum collegium allectam esse sit tibi liberalis pilleus hic velluti ornamentum laureum quo donabantur post certamen victores quant opere vero te de dignitate adepta in totius academici cetus nomine gratulemur gestetur tibi hic nosteram plexus.
Brian Ajus. Kimberly Ancilleri. In absenzja Irina Tart. Christine Bajada. In absenzja Sara Bajada. Edera Bellizzi. Sarah Jane Bezzina. In absenzja Vittoria Bianco u Shanice Bonello. Darren Borch. Nicole Borch. Celine Brincat. Shanelise Bugeja. Michaela Buhajar. In absentia Pamela Buttigieg Leonard. Antea Kamenzuli. Tyrin Cardona. Bernie Caruana. Joël Marie Caruana. In absentia Samuel Caruana. Lucas Sar. Gabriella Kauki. Francesca Cilia. In absentia Elizabeth Kimino. Luke Cucciardi. Garrett Kurmi. Mirjana Kurmi. Francien Kutayar. Gabriel De Bono. Roxanne De Bono. In absentia Flavi Ducastel. Nicole Farrugia. In absentia Maria Giorgia Farrugia Sacco. Kaya Celine Fennec. Svetlana Fennec. Francesca Fennec Adami. Rebecca Ferry. Caroline Gallia. Emily Galia. Kurt Galia. Nathaniel Galia. Nicole Galia. Renz Galia. In absentia, Christabel Gatt. Ilenia Gatt. Lauren Grech. Maries Grech. Jessica Grech Mikallef. In absentia, Gabriel Lia. Bernice Magro. In absentia, Valeria Mallia. Stacy Marmara. In absentia, Jacob Mikallef. Daniela Mifsud. In absentia, Joseph Muscat. Tamara Palazzo. Maria Portelli. Rainy Portelli. In absentia, Alexia Saliba, Michela Saliba u Kristi Xkembri. Ser nifqu għal ftit minuti mill-loti ta' ċertifikati sabiex nisimgħu lil Malta Philharmonic Orchestra, String Ensemble u Solista. inkomplu bloti ta' ċertifikati. Jenny Xikluna. Rebecca Tanti. In absenzja Julian Vella u Maria Vella. Ezekiel Xwireb. In absenzja Karen Xwireb. Kristina Marie Xwireb. Charles Zammit. Hannah Zammit. Osbert Zammit. In absenzja Shakira Zammit u Terry Zammit. Master of Arts in Educational Leadership and Management. Prekarissimi kandidati. Plakoit autoritatibus universitati moderandi. Prefectus dinios vos declarare che laurea insinibus decoremini. Sponsor, Professor Colin Calleja.
Tuum in conspectum magnifice rector, adducimus os lectissimus candidatos, omnibus laurea insignibus, more institutoque maiorum a te, honestandos qui. A consiliaris et senatoribus uius universitatis dignissimis presentati, temox rogabunt ut, tibi attributa potestate, eios magistros renuncies, atque in eius modi censu cooptatos adscriptosque nomines atque edicas.
Alexia Abela Kaskun ġiet l-ewwel fil-kors tagħha.
Itaque Deus, exoratus, vertat bene, nobis attributa autoritate, te magistram eo iure censeri, et esse cooptimo sunt creati ali, edicimus et pronunciamus, tibique omnibus honoribus, cum laurea conjunctis, fruendi et utenti facultatem facimus. Cape iam collate tibi dignitatis ornamenta, et quid illo instituto maiorum portendant intellegge. Gesta sic togamanc, ut norint omnes te, in magistrarum collegium allectam esse. Sit tibi liberalis pilleus ic, velluti ornamentum laureum, quod donabantur post certamen victores. Quant opere vero, te dignitate adepta, in totus academici coetus, nomine gratulemur. Gestetur tibi ic noster amplexus.
Mirana Gius Silvio. In absentia Cristabella Attart. Janelle Attart. Joanne Josephine Zoppardi. Maruska Bonello. Charlene Briffa. Alexia Maria Brincao. Michelle Bohajar. In absentia Isabella Kakija. Jolene Calleja. Abigail Camilleri. Amanda Caruana. Liane Kassar. In absentia Marisa Chappara u Carmelina Kutajjar. Joseph De Brincat. In absentia Ingrid Farrugia. Claire Marie Galia. Carmen Gagliamizzi. Elaine Geradagat. In absentia Joanne Girshi. Mary Grace Giordamaina. Caroline Greg Malia. Janet Haber. Tiziana Lauscalleja. Daniela Mikallef. Lucia Nasammut. Mark Shiberras. Maureen Shiberras. Pamela Shikluna. In absentia Judith Spiteri. Maria Dolores Spiteri. Angel Tanti. Julien Vassallo. Marisa Victoria Vella de Manuele. Vanessa Schwireb. Ritien Zammit. Master of Education. Precarissimi kandidati, placuit autoritatibus universitati moderandi, prefectis dinius vos declarare che laurea insinibus decoremini. Sponsor, Professor Colin Calleja.
Tuum in conspectum magnifice rector ad ducimus os lectissimus candidatos omnibus laurea insignibus more institutoque maiorum a te honestandosqui, a consiliaris et senatoribus uius universitatis dignissimis presentati. Te mox rogabunt ut tibi attributa potestate, eios magisteros renuncies atque in eius modi censu cooptatos adscriptosque nomines atque edicas.
Bernadette Mitzi li ġiet l-ewwel fil-kors tagħha.
Ut itaque Deus exoratus vertat bene, nobis attributa autoritate, et magistram eo iure censeri et esse quoptimus sunt creati ali edicimus et pronunciamus, tibique omnibus honoribus, cum laurea conjunctis fruendi et utendi facultatem facimus. Cape iam collate tibi dignitatis ornamenta, et quid illa instituto maiorum portendat intellege. Gesta sic togam anc, ut norint omnes te, in magistrarum collegium allectam esse. Sit tibi liberalis pilleus ic, velluti ornamentum laureum. Quod donabantur post certamen victores. Quant opere vero, te de dignitate adepta, in totius academici cetus, nomine gratulemur, gestetur tibi ic nosteram plexus.
In absentia Sherin Abdullah, Sara Bondin. Alexandra Chappelle. Maureen Corrado Cristina. Charmaine Kutaya. Janella Mifsud. Josen Parz Chiavone. Bianca Vella. Issa nitlob lill-gradwati l-ġodda jqumu bil-wieqfa sabiex flimkien ngħidu l-affermazzjoni. Ngħidu flimkien. Jiena nilqa l-onuri u l-privileġġi mogħtija lili llum. Jiena nwiegħed li nħaddimhom b'responsabbiltà għas-servizz tas-soċjetà u li nagħmel hekk skont il-liġi u l-Kostituzzjoni ta' Malta. U fil-waqt li jiena membru tal-Korp Akademiku tal-Università ta' Malta, nagħti kelma sħiħa li nimxi dejjem skont il-liġijiet u r-regolamenti tagħha. Fisem l-Università nifraħ li gradwat il-ġodda li familji tagħkom f'din l-okkażjoni speċjali. Proset tassew. Nqumu bil-wieqfa l-innu Malti. Nitlobkom tibqgħu bil-wieqfa sakemm joħorġu l-kanċellier, il-proretturi u l-Korp Akademiku.